Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome back, students. Today we are starting our fifth topic, which is selecting a research topic. We've already studied four topics before today, and we've studied them over about 7 to 8 classes. We've been discussing your topics throughout these 7 or 8 classes, but now we'll be focusing on your particular topic. I'm sure you've already received the instructions from TA that because of the problems that we had with the pandemic, we are not meeting physically at the campus. So it has necessitated that every one of you they choose a separate individual research topic, which means there will be no groups. Every individual student will have a topic of his or her own, and all the assignments that you get from me now onwards will be based on your topics. As you'll see, the assignment that you get today will be about selecting your topic, and all future assignments must be sent in a single trail of emails in which you keep updating your previous file. So in today's assignment, if you, let's say, make one page, the next assignment should be in the same document, and it should be page number 2 and 3 and 4 or whatever, and so on, so that at the end of the semester you have one single Word file which has all your assignments, and you send all of them to me in a single trail of email. What does single trail mean? It means if you send me an email today which contains assignment 1, and you when you send the second assignment to me, it should be a kind of reply to your first email, and the third should be again a reply to the first and second email. So what we'll have would be a single trail of emails. All right, so we talked about research and statistics in the last topic, last couple of classes. I did not go into the details of the mathematical parts of some tools that we studied at the end, but you must understand that whenever you are going to do a serious research, whenever you're going to do your MS thesis or PhD thesis, you'll need to have a reasonable knowledge of the software tools that are used in research. For example, Minitab or SPSS or so many others that are being used these days. If you are totally uninitiated on them, maybe you'd like to attend some workshops that are regularly given in CASE and in other universities as well, or even the professors, they do give workshops on their own. Mostly these are paid workshops. Sometimes the professors they give free workshops. Doesn't happen very often, but maybe you can look for them and you'll find one for yourself. In any case, you must understand that for doing serious research, your MS thesis, your PhD thesis, or any research without thesis, you must have a good grip on software tools. And particularly for PhD students, you must have a very good grip on multiple research software tools. Okay, so let's move on to our topic, selecting a research topic. This slide that you see in front of you, it is a slide that you saw last week as well, and you'll be seeing it in almost all the sessions that we'll conduct from now onwards. This basically depicts various steps that you go through when you undertake a research. Basically, the phrases used in this particular slide refer mostly to quantitative research, but as you'll soon learn, with very small adjustments, and as long as you have defined your ontology, epistemology, and methodology appropriately, the steps are basically the same. So, just a quick review of this slide. This is basically divided into four parts. four bigger rectangles that have smaller rectangles within them. The first part is about finding a good research topic and converting it to research questions. And this is exactly what uh, constitutes this particular session that we are having. As you can see that reading literature, it it is a kind of constant activity that you keep doing throughout your research. So what you do in this part is that you find a research topic which is obviously broad initially. Then you justify your topic. Justify means that you make sure that it meets the requirements of your professor or your university. It is researchable. It is reflective of the kind of time you have to do your research, the kind of resources you have to do your research, and so on. Once you justify your topic, you have to refine it. Refinement basically means that you have to kind of phrase it in a way that it eventually leads to good research questions. So, selecting a good topic, it is mostly very tricky. It may not be easy because a good topic, it has to be narrow and focused enough to be interesting. Yet it has to be broad enough to find adequate information. Because if the topic is too narrow, maybe you'll find very little literature about it. But if it is too broad, it may not be interesting for your department, for your professor, for the journals that you want to publish them in. But before you go on to the quest of selecting your topic, be sure that you have decided on the ontology, epistemology, and methodology, etc., and that you know what your final project should look like. What does that mean? It basically means uh, you should know whether you're going to do quantitative research or qualitative research. Well, besides this, your professor, your university, your department, they may have a different format or style requirements. So never forget them, because at the end of the day, you won't be answerable to the author of the book on research methodology, but you'll be answerable to your professor. So be very sure to understand what your professor requires, your department requires, and your university requires. And with that, you must remember the characteristics of good research topic that we studied earlier. There were many characteristics that were grouped into two parts. One was that the topic should be worthwhile, and the second was that the topic should be feasible. So it might be a good idea for you to go back to that particular session, its videos, and refresh your knowledge about the characteristics of a good research topic. All right, so how do you choose a good research topic? Basically, the ability to develop a good research topic is a very important skill. An instructor may assign you a specific topic, but most often instructors require you to select your own topic. Why? Because they want you to work on something that is of interest to you. Because if you do research on something that doesn't interest you, you're not likely to come up with very good results, and you may be tempted to cut the corners, because at the end of the day it was not your topic. All right, so when deciding on a topic, there are a few things that you need to do. And what are they? Number one is you must brainstorm for ideas. Think about them. Talk to your friends, your maybe the TA, your instructor, or people who've done a thesis already. Talk to them about your your need for a topic, or whatever topic you have in mind. Uh, the second is that choose a topic that will enable you to read and understand literature. There might be topics that do not have a good literature available about. So choose a topic that has good literature available about them. Thirdly, Ensure that the topic is manageable and that the material is available. Manageable can mean so many things, but most importantly, keep the time frame in mind. What kind of time do you have to undertake your research? Then, number four, make a list of keywords. Why? Because keywords are used in all the journals and research databases to find the papers of your interest. So it will be really helpful if you have your keywords handy when you're looking for help on your topic. Number five, be flexible. We'll look at it in detail in a few minutes, but the idea is that the topic of your interest may not be feasible, and you may have to make slight adjustments to your topic to make it more researchable. Number six, define your topic as a focused research question. Again, we'll look at it in detail. Actually, we'll look at all these 8 steps in detail in this lecture. But the idea of remaining focused is that you should be you should not kind of wander around mentally, because it is literally impossible to research everything in the world. Mind can go anywhere, right? So you must have very, very particular words in your topic that reflect your focus. Then number seven, research and read more about your topic. So when you have focused, still, I mean, even more so, you need to read literature about it. And finally, formulate a thesis statement. What does a thesis statement mean? We'll look at it in detail, but the idea is that whenever somebody reads that statement, he or she should be able to understand what particular thing you are going to research. Okay, so let's look at this first thing that we have to do: brainstorm for ideas. What does it mean? Well, you have to choose a topic that interests you, and you can use the questions written on this slide to help you generate topic ideas. The first one is, do you have a strong opinion on any current social or political controversy? Because if you have a strong opinion, you may actually be interested in that topic, and that would kind of motivate you to move towards it. Did you read or see a news story that has piqued your interest or made you angry or anxious? Again, it will motivate you. But remember, if you're angry about something, if you are opinionated about something, it may stop you from doing a balanced research in the long run. So while it is good when you are choosing a topic, it is not good when you are doing research on it. Then, do you have a personal issue, problem, or interest that you would like to know more about? Well, it happens very often with employees that when they, well, after going through their academic life, when they join a particular profession, they realize that the things on ground are not as good as what they studied in the academia. Well, mostly the issues they have HR context. You don't find great bosses. You don't see them practicing all the beautiful things that you read about HR management. So if you have that kind of situation at your hand, maybe that will motivate you to do a particular research. Do you have a research paper due for a class this semester? Again, great motivation, because if you don't do a good research, you won't get good marks. So again, that'll help you move towards a good topic. And finally, is there an aspect of a class that you are interested in learning more about? Because when you're doing a particular course, it has multiple topics, and most of the times a particular student develops interest in a particular subtopic of that class. So that is again helpful when you're brainstorming for the ideas. Look at some of the topically oriented sources or websites and research uh, for your topic from them. Now, Um, what is topical orientation? It means orientations toward a particular topic. Write down any keywords or concepts that may be of interest to you. Be aware of overused ideas when deciding a topic. Some ideas uh, they are kind of very beaten. So when you look at topics such as job satisfaction in your own library, case library, you'll find dozens of theses that address that topic from one angle or another. Similarly, employee superior relationships, similarly, impact of scale on growth. So you should avoid these topics unless you feel that you have a very unique approach to the topic. You should also try to steer clear of the topics that are way too obvious. For example, does eating healthy food improve one's health? It is very obvious that eating healthy food would improve your health. So nobody would be interested in your research. Something like, does exercise help in mental well-being? Well, it does. Everybody knows it's published a million times in newspapers and magazines every week. So these kind of topics you should try and avoid them. You should keep consulting your instructor and the TA for ideas if you feel that you're stuck or you need additional guidance. Okay, the second step is read general background information. Reading journal articles on two or three topics that you are considering can be really helpful. General, as in uh, not very focused. Reading a broad summary, it would enable you to get an overview of the topic and see how your ideas they relate to um, relate other issues that are connected to what you're researching or what you want to research. Now, if you cannot find an article on your topic, you may try and use broader terms. For example, you may not get an article on relationship between age, groups, and contraction of COVID-19 in Pakistan. For many reasons, you won't find any articles, but you may find sources on common illnesses in various age groups. So that would may eventually lead you to modification of your topic, but at least you'll be having a good researchable topic. You can actually browse Wikipedia as well, because whenever you read an article on Wikipedia, you would notice that at the end of the article, they provide many links to magazines, articles, reports, websites, etc. So if you go to those links, you get additional information and the ideas they keep springing in your mind, and you can eventually reach to a good topic. Similarly, you can look at the news, you can look at the newspapers, you can look at websites to come up with a good topic. But remember that news may not be uh, reliable in themselves. They can only give you leads. The third step was, or the third part was, focus on your topic. So the basic idea of focusing is limiting your topic. You should not let it wander um, all around other topics, because ultimately you'll have to collect data during your research, and you cannot collect data about everything. So what are some ways to limit your topic? Well, you can limit your topic by geographical area. For example, uh, if the idea was environmental issues, you may like to limit it to Islamabad only, or Peshawar or Rawalpindi only. I mean, you can limit it by culture. What does that mean? For example, uh, your idea of environment, how does it fit into the worldview of a person in interior Sindh, or maybe in Gilgit Baltistan, or any other part of the country where you can easily collect data from? You can limit it by time frame, your idea of environmental issues. What were the most prominent environmental issues of the last 10 years or 5 years, or during the last year? You can limit it by discipline. For example, how does environmental awareness affect business practices today? So the discipline of business practices, and that is what limits your topic here. And by population group, what are the effects of air pollution on senior citizens? Again, a limitation on the same idea that you had. There could be many other ways in which you can limit your idea, but the but the but the concept is that you should not let it wander all around. It should be focused. So there are a few things that you need to remember when you're focusing on your topic. Uh, First of all, locally confined issues may be difficult to research. Why? Because they are covered in very limited publications, if at all. Mostly they're not covered at all. For example, if your topic is what are the sources of pollution in uh, Malir city, water pollution, maybe you won't find any great literature sources about it. At best, you may find a few newspaper clippings that won't be very helpful. Again, recent topics do not have a lot of publications about them or a lot of literature about them. For example, um, the COVID-19 in Pakistan, we may not have a lot of publications about it. We'll have them in some time, but not now. So you won't get a lot of literature. And again, your topic should not be broadly interdisciplinary. For example, how can environment contribute to culture, politics, and society? Now that is too much. If you if you start making questionnaires about culture and politics and society with an environmental perspective, it will become too broad to handle, and at the end of the day, you'll have to cut some corners to come up with an acceptable thesis, which again won't be helpful at all, neither for you nor for the research community. So you should avoid such kind of topics. The fourth part was making a list of useful keywords. Now, the idea is that uh, when you are focusing from your idea towards a research question, uh, uh, particular phrases they keep crossing you. You would read them in newspapers, you would hear them in on the TV channels, you would read them in journal articles, and so on. So you must make a list of those topics. Why? Because these topics are searchable in databases. You should keep a list of them, and whenever you're looking at a journal database, at a catalog, you should use them to find relevant research papers or articles. The next is be flexible. Well, remember, it is very common, um, it is very normal to modify your topic during the research process. With me, almost 100% of the students they have to modify their topic to some extent. Sometimes it's a very small modification, sometimes it's actually a paradigm change, sometimes it's a total change of topic. So be ready to to change your topic to a certain extent. Basically, what leads to modification of topic, it is the narrowness of the topic or broadness of the topic, or maybe its researchability, its manageability, and it's the topic being worthwhile. It can be anything, but uh, mostly the idea that you come up with, it will be modified. Remember that. So don't fall in love with in whatever has come to your mind in the first place. It is almost certain to be modified. So some students, they are very They're very uh, particular. They're very serious about their topics, and they do want to research it in any case. So of course, as a professor, in my case, I have to allow that. But again, we have to help that student in many ways to ensure that he or she they don't wander around to a situation where their thesis is it doesn't become unfinishable. So keep in mind that there are time limitations, there are resource limitations, and many other limitations, and that would influence your topic. Okay, so after being flexible, you need to define your topic as a focused research question. And normally you begin with a word, develop a more focused interest in an aspect of something related to that word, and then begin to have questions about that topic. For example, um, a student, the idea in her mind or his mind could be economic freedom of women or the participation of women in economics. That is not only very important for economy, but for our economy, but also a very happening topic these days. So what could be a research question about that topic? This idea. What could be the research question? It could be what limits a woman's economic freedom. There could be other research questions as well. Um but let's say, for example, your research question becomes what limits women's economic freedom. Again, if you look at this question is still very broad. What limits women's economic freedom? The limitations could be financial, they could be social, they could be educational, they could be physical, they could be so many things. So the term limit, it needs to be focused. Which limit are we talking about? Again, what does economic freedom means? Maybe you want to talk about a woman who doesn't want to work and yet wants to be economically free, or a woman who wants to work and is trying to overcome the barriers that are inhibiting her from working independently. So there could be so many things that a particular word implies. So you have to be very careful with your words to make sure that uh, number one, they are crisp, they could be researched, and secondly, they are perceived in almost a similar way by everybody who hears that word. So, from this research question, what limits women's economic freedom? If you move on to the focused research question, it could be which financial barriers are being faced by female small and medium enterprise owners in the textile sector. Now, if you look at the red words in this sentence, the first one is financial. Another topic could be what social barriers. Another could be what educational barriers. Another could be what physical barriers. Another could be what bureaucratic barriers, and so on. Again, SME owners, maybe somebody would like to research on MSMEs. I mean, even the smaller SMEs, the micro and small and medium enterprises. Someone may like to research about large enterprises. And the third red word is textile. So it could be any other sector. It could be handicraft sector. It could be foods. It could be agriculture. It could be dairy. It could be anything. And maybe after the sector, you may like to add in the textile sector around Faisalabad area or any other area. So the idea is that basically you want to focus your research question. Okay, once you've done that, the next step is, or the next part is, research and read more about your topic. Uh, uh, it cannot be emphasized, overemphasized in any way. The more you read, the better your topic becomes, and the better equipped you become to conduct your research, all its steps later on. So on this slide, uh, you can see a lot of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 websites listed on the right side. These are basically databases for uh, journal articles or journals. On the top is sciencedirect.com, then is Elsevier and JSTOR. Well, it's not protest, it's ProQuest. Then journaldatabase.info, then Scopus, then DOAJ, and in the end, academic.microsoft.com. If you go to any of these websites and enter your keywords, you'll find in some cases hundreds and thousands of published papers on that particular keyword. Not all the papers that you find would be relevant to you. If you simply look at the topic, you would realize that it's not what you wanted to read. But sometimes when you look at the topic or the sentence of that the header sentence of that particular paper, it may look like it's of interest to you. So when you read it, the first thing that you should read its abstract, and in the abstract it should be pretty clear to you whether this is the paper you want to read in detail or not. So you must research and read more about your topic. One issue that you would come across is that most of these databases, they don't give you free access except the second last one that you see, DOAJ, which is a directory of open access journals. Open access means free access. All others would ask you to pay money to read the articles. It would be anywhere between 12 and maybe 50 or even more dollars for each paper. So the good thing is that you actually don't have to pay. Why? Because the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan, it has bought bulk licenses for the universities where you can access if you access these journals from your university uh, your VPN, you should be able uh, to download the articles without any payment. There's this university access, then there's HEC access. So if you want to, if you're unable to find these ways of accessing the databases through your university or the HEC, you should consult the TA, and she should be able to tell you how to uh, get those papers. Well, once you've researched and read more about your topic, the next thing is formulate a thesis statement. Now, what is a thesis statement? It is basically a couple of sentences that that tell the audience what are the questions that would be answered during your research. So, your thesis statement will usually be 1 or 2 sentences that states precisely what is to be answered, proven, or what you will inform your audience about your topic. The development of a thesis statement, it assumes that there is sufficient evidence to support your thesis statement. For example, uh, the topic that we talked about earlier, its thesis statement could be: there are various financial barriers that inhibit women entrepreneurs in Pakistan from starting and sustaining their own business in the textile sector. Now, if you look at this thesis statement closely, you would realize that it tells you very clearly what this research would bring forth in the end. There are various financial barriers. So, this thesis statement would identify those barriers that stop women in Pakistan from starting and sustaining their own businesses. So, it is talking about starting the businesses and sustaining them. So, it will be looking at both the aspects. In textile sector. So the topic will be focusing on the textile sector only. So for example, another thesis statement could be Sadiq Khan's calligraphy principles, including his use of novel scripts and his sense of space and texture, opened a new era of Pakistani calligraphy. His work has strongly influenced contemporary work of calligraphy in Pakistan and abroad. Now, this statement tells you that we'll be studying Sadiq Khan's calligraphy only, and within his calligraphy, we'll be studying the principles, particularly related to scripts and sense of space and texture, and his influence on the work of calligraphy in Pakistan and abroad. So the thesis statement it it tells you clearly what you should expect from a particular research when it is completed. Now, the thesis statement, it is not the title of your paper. The title of paper is usually a smaller version of thesis statement, but the title should again clearly convey what is the focus and the purpose and the meaning of your research. For example, for this same topic and thesis statement that we talked about earlier, the title could be Financial Barriers Inhibiting Sustainability of Women Run Textile Sector SMEs. Now, if you read the thesis statement again and read this topic, you would realize that the topic is a condensed form of the thesis statement. But again, remember that if your instructor has any particular requirements, any particular instructions, directions, you must follow him, because you'll not be answerable to me or this slide, or this particular course. You'll be answerable to your instructor. Obviously, for this particular course, the research methodology course, you will be answerable to me. So keep listening. All right. So there are a few learning extensions that I like to give you. You'll have to do them on your own. They are not to be submitted to me, just for your practice. First one, identify the narrower aspects of these three topics that I'm giving you. In other words, what are the three areas you could investigate that fit into these broad topics? Sports, pollution, politics. What you have to do is you have to narrow them down, and maybe narrow them down to three areas. I'm sure you're already thinking about the ways it can be narrowed down. We talked about pollution already. So on similar lines, you can think about sports and politics. And the next learning extension, uh, these are kind of focused topics, and you have to broaden them. Identify a broader topic that would cover the following narrow topics. In other words, how can you expand these topics to get more information? The first one is long time taken in resolution of court cases in Pakistan, and the second is garbage problem in Karachi. So I'm sure you're already getting the point. The point is that you don't have a lot of literature available on these two topics. So how can you make them broad so that you can get literature about them? Another extension is that imagine that you have been assigned the following four topics. You have to think of 5 keywords you might use to look for information on these. I'll look at only one. For example, the first one, how does air quality affect our health? What could be some keywords? So the keywords for air quality, they could be carbon monoxide, they could be uh, industrial pollution, they could be pollution that is generated from vehicles, so vehicular pollution affect our health. So what could be some keywords? Environmental impact on health, it could be some particular ailments or diseases that are caused by air quality. So what you have to do is you have to come up with keywords. All these three exercises, that you have to do them on your own, as I said. no submissions required. Actually, this particular session that we are going through, it was supposed to be, had we done it on campus, it was supposed to be a workshop style session in which I would make you do these three learning extensions. So if you have to, if you can, you should kind of assume that I've done that. I've given you these three extensions, and now you sit on your own for maybe 15 to 20 minutes on each extension and do it in detail. That will help you a lot in coming up with a good topic of your own. And why you should come up with a good topic of your own? Well, because you have this assignment with a deadline of 4th April 20. So what what do you need to do in this assignment? Basically, on the lines of slide 15 that we saw. Slide 15 was the slide that that required you to think of an idea, convert it into a research question, and then move on and convert it into a focused research question. On line of slide 15, you have to submit the following for your research topic. What does your research topic means? It means your topic for the class project or the class research. The topic that, as I said earlier, you would be researching individually. And this is your first assignment of your research topic. So what in idea, what do you have to do? You have to clearly mention what motivated you to come up with the idea that you are using for your research. Then you have to convert that idea into a research question and clearly mention which sources you refer to as you converted your idea into your research question or research questions. And focused research questions, again, you'll have to clearly mention what all you read, what all you consulted, what all papers, articles, newspapers, news you referred to as you moved on from your research question to your focused research questions. Obviously, research questions could be more than one, but it would be a good idea if you don't stretch too much. Keep it to one. Keep your research questions to one or two, because we don't have a lot of time left in the semester. Only about half of it left, so it will be a good idea if you have one or two research questions. In this assignment, I expect you to follow all the steps that we discussed today. I expect you to build a list of keywords, etc. And I also expect you to start developing a database of articles that you read while arriving at your ideas, research questions, and focused research questions. And finally, I also expect you to read at least one meta-analysis that would give you detail on your particular topic. What was meta-analysis? You'll have to go to previous lectures to see in detail, but broadly, meta-analysis is a paper which kind of collects a big chunk of previous knowledge on that topic. It is a comprehensive research from the perspective of literature review on a particular topic. So that's all I had for this this session for you. I expect you to turn in your assignments through email on nadeemqureshi@gmail.com, and do that before 4th April 20. And if you have any problems, get back to me on email, get back to the TA on email, or any other way that you have. But please do not ask for extensions on this deadline, because we don't have a lot of time left. Thank you, and see you next week.